Okay, magandang gabi Pilipinas. Good evening fellow Filipinos. Good morning and good afternoon to our dear participants from the other parts of the world who are with us for tonight's session. Welcome to the IGP's 844th free international webinar, and thank you so much for joining with us in this wonderful session. Once again, I am your host, Mr. Rian Jun P. calling from Aklan, Philippines, and I will be in charge for tonight's activity. I am a senior high school mathematics teacher of Baton Academy, a national school in the Department of Education, Division of Aklan, Philippines, and it is a great honor and privilege to be in the IGP as one of its webinar hosts and, of course, one of the thousand active members around the globe. I am happy to welcome you all in this institution of Global Professionals Free International Webinar, and I hope everyone will stay active to participate in our activities, especially in our IGP quiz, for you to have a chance to win an e-certificate. And before we continue, you may like and comment while our webinar is going on. So please tag, share, and mention your friends in the comment box so that we can be able to share with them the knowledge that our speaker will impart to us tonight. In this virtual world, we can watch together and learn together. The events and activities that IGP provide to us, dear participants, are proofs that pandemic does not just bring challenges and difficulties in life, but also it offers a lot of opportunities for us to learn and grow professionally. So, for the new members, let me give some backgrounds about IGP. IGP stands for Institute of Global Professionals, and it is an ISO certified education institute and a certified trainings and webinars that is reflected in the e-certificate that each participant will receive after attending every session. It is also recognized internationally and globally accredited to more than 100 countries. And IGP is a leading online skill development institute with thousands of learners worldwide. IGP serves the world communities by providing holistic social work in education and to help build a world with a strong foundation of education and life skills. IGP gives opportunities accessible for every knowledge seeker to gain mastery of skills, to develop personality, to become more goal oriented, to strengthen confidence in facing any circumstances in life, and to enhance skills by inviting great speakers and professionals from other parts of the world. The organization believes that skills and development is not only gained through a formal education. So, IGP offers free virtual training and consultation to young professionals who are willing to learn, improve, and embrace changes. IGP organizes webinars, trainings, both offline and online courses, with the best and highly trained speakers and coaches from all corners of the world to create a best learning platform for all of us, dear participants. Again, before we continue, please tag, comment, and mention your friends in the comment box and encourage them to join us in this social learning platform of professionals. Such a simple act serves as your support to our organization. And by the way, participants who will attend to this free international webinar will receive an certificate that they can use in the future. Today, we are presenting the 844th webinar with the title Design Thinking in the Classroom. Our speaker for tonight is from the Philippines, who will give us more ideas and insights regarding the topic. Meanwhile, dear participants, you can take down your questions and queries about his lecture, and later on, we will have our question and answer part where you can address it to our speaker. So let us start our discussion. Let me introduce to you our speaker for tonight. He is a Simeo Guro 21 Course 2 scholar, and he graduated his Doctor of Education major in Educational Management at Wesleyan University, Philippines. And currently, he is a Master Teacher 1 at Department of Education, Cabanatuan City, Philippines. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our speaker for this 844th webinar session. Sir Kevin DC Lau from the Philippines. Take it away, sir. The virtual screen is yours.
Hello, thank you, Sir Rian. Can you hear me po?
Yes, sir.
Ayan. Hello everyone. Mabuhay from the Philippines. I am Kevin D. Silao and I will be your facilitator for today's session. So, I am greatly honored and privileged to be with you and hopefully to work and collaborate with you in the days ahead. My greetings to you, my fellow professionals around the globe. So, Sir Rian Jun, can I now present my slide?
Yes, sir, you can.
Okay. Is it visible to your screen now, Sir Rian Jun?
Yes, sir. It's already here in the screen.
Okay, thank you very much, Sir Rian Jun. So once again, good evening from the Philippines, and I am tasked for this session to discuss design thinking in the classroom. But before that, let me express my sincerest gratitude and thanksgiving to the following persons who made this collaboration with IGP possible. So first on the list is our Regional Supervisor in Depth Ed Region 3, Dr. Nestor Nuesca, our Schools Division Superintendent, Madam Teresa Mababa, our Education Program Supervisor, Dr. Sani De Leon, our Public Schools District Supervisor, Dr. Melody Sindak, my school head, Dr. Leia Alvaran, to the Department of Science and Technology Science Education Institute in partnership with Central Luzon State University Science Teachers Academy for the regions. So to begin our discussion for the design thinking, let's start by thinking and evaluating the following products or pictures presented here on the screen. So we have here two examples of teapots. Do you think it would be functional for you to use these types of teapots? Hmm? Do you think it is functional, or do you think you can use it, but it would be very hard for you to have these during your coffee time or your tea time? Okay, so definitely I think your answer would be it's very difficult to use these teapots during your coffee time or tea time. Next, how about these tools? Do you think it would be very functional on your end to use these gardening tools? Okay, so I cannot see your responses, but I know that your answer will be no also. So it would very difficult for you to use this in your gardening activities. How about this one? And so you have your utensils with you. So you have your fork, your spoon, and your cups. Do you think it would be very easy for you to use these types of products, especially when you're very hungry? Okay, so definitely it would very difficult for you to use these utensils. And of course, if you're going to use a comfort room and upon entering, you're going to have these on your end. So are you going to have your comfort room with you, or are you going to pee or something, or you're going to look for another comfort room? So if I were you, I will be looking for another comfort room because this poses some privacy issues or concerns. Okay, so having those pictures or products presented earlier, do you think the designer considered its functionality and the satisfaction of the users? So definitely the answer would be a big no. Okay? And that is the reason why we will be understanding or learning more about the design thinking. Okay? In our session, we will be able to understand or learn the questions in the following. First is, why is there a need to utilize the design thinking in schools? Second, what is design thinking? Third, what are the processes involved in the design thinking process? And how can we utilize the design thinking in the classroom. Okay, so for us to know more about it, let's start first answering the question, where are we right now? So we are now in the fourth industrial revolution, or the so-called Industry 4.0. It has three main core goals, which first, digitization or integration of value chains. Second, the digitization of product and service offerings. And thirdly, the digital business models and customer access. Some of the examples of the products, okay, or features of this Industry 4.0 are the cloud computing devices. We have here the augmented reality, the big data analytics, smart sensors, location detection technologies, to name some. So these processes, okay, pose or encourages us individuals to be more technologically savvy. Okay, so this Industry 4.0 encourages us to be technological expert. And with this, when we are talking about technological advancement, we cannot go far away from talking to concepts that are related to data. Okay, so a study was conducted in 2019 wherein it showed that data never sleeps. So the title of the research is Data Never Sleeps 7.0. This revealed how much data is generated every minute. So in the research, for example, or for instance, we have here approximately 4,500,000 searches in the Google for just a minute. We also have here about 4,500,000 views in YouTube and more. These data or this data or the result of this research showed only that data is very essential and significant in our modern life. Okay? So this also confirms the theory that the world's most valuable resource is no longer oil but data. So 10 years ago, the five biggest companies were all oil. But today, it's the technology companies, namely Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Google, and Facebook. The data economy demands a new approach to antitrust issues. Okay? And that has an implication on our educational landscape. Okay? So that's the reason why it is integrated in our 21st century skills. So 21st century skills answers or pose questions on how today's students can stay competitive in a changing job market. It is categorized into three skills, namely the learning skills, which includes critical thinking, creativity, collaboration, and communication. We also have the literacy skills, which involves information, media, and technology. And of course, the life skills, which includes flexibility, leadership, initiative, productivity, including social skills. This 21st century's main goal is to produce lifelong learners. And for us to have lifelong learning, we need to have these literacies. Okay? So we have foundational literacies, competencies, including the character qualities. Under the foundational literacies, we have here the literacy, numeracy, scientific literacy, ICT literacy, financial, and including cultural and civic literacy. These skills are essential to their everyday tasks. Also, in the 21st century skills, we have what we call the competencies, or how students approach complex challenges in life. So we have here the critical thinking, problem solving, creativity, communication, and collaboration. And last, of course, but not the least, is that the character qualities, or how students approach their changing environment. So under these, we have curiosity, initiative, persistence or grit, adaptability, leadership, social and cultural awareness. And of course, for us to have these lifelong learning among our learners or in the classroom, we need to venture into something new, and that is the design thinking. Okay? In the design thinking, we will be redesigning the way of thinking from the traditional way to the traditional way to the modern way of thinking. Because in the traditional way, we will be starting from the product that will be offered to our end users. Okay? But in the design thinking, we will have a new way of thinking because we will have first our users, and from the users we will develop or draw different innovations or products. Okay? So just like for this example, in our traditional way of thinking, so we are just somewhat after the aesthetics of this office chair, right? For example, the structure, the design, or somewhat the aesthetic of this. That's the traditional way of thinking. The size, okay, the color, and the like. But in the new way of thinking, we will be able to understand or to see what are its features. For example, if the user wants them to have a nap or to take a nap during break time, okay, so is it possible for an office chair to be converted into something that they can lean on, or that something that they can sleep on, just like for this example? Or for example, the user that you will be asking, okay, for some inputs will be the user that requires an office chair that supports the leg or his or her legs. Okay? And of course, we have this example. Other users also want to have support or comfort in their arms in choosing the best office chair for them. So that's the difference between the traditional and the modern way of thinking. Okay? So in the design thinking, we'll be challenged by chaotic, random, and diverging concepts, ideas, and the like. But let us take this as opportunity to understand the problem more. And upon understanding our problem, it will result to an innovation. Okay? So that is the process of the design thinking, from the problem or from the chaotic problem or situation to understanding better the problem, and you will have now the innovation out of those processes mentioned. Okay? So in redesigning our thinking, we need to be inquisitive, to ask more questions, and of course, we need to consider the user-centered thinking. What is the need of our end user? Okay? So in the design thinking, do you think the designer's thinking, or considering the designer's way of thinking, or is it about simply thinking, right? So but the answer would be no. The design thinking is about our end user. Okay? So let us first identify or describe what is design thinking. So it is a process for solving problems by prioritizing the consumer's needs above all else. So as I have mentioned earlier, okay, our main goal is to satisfy our end user. It also relies on observing with empathy how people interact with their environments. Okay? Design thinking, according to Tim Brown, is the confidence that everyone can be part of creating a more desirable future and a process to take action when faced with a difficult challenge, noting some of the 21st century skills. Okay? That kind of optimism is well needed in the education landscape. Okay? In other versions, design thinking is an iterative process in which we seek to understand the user, okay, challenge assumptions, and redefine problems in an attempt to identify alternative strategies and solutions that might not be instantly apparent with our initial level of understanding. That's why design thinking is an in-depth understanding of the problem. Okay? So design thinking is not a concept, not a theory, but a process. Okay? The design process is a structured approach to identifying challenges, gathering information, generating potential solutions, refining ideas, and testing solutions. The process is circular by nature and demands iteration. So each stage in the process should be revisited and invoked throughout a learning experience to encourage experimentation, solution feasibility, and reflection. Okay? So there are different models of the design thinking process, starting with the Stanford Design School or design thinking process, wherein it has 5 stages. Okay? We have for stage 1, empathize, define, ideate, prototype, and test. So this Stanford D School design thinking process will be our main model for this discussion. Okay? But other than that, we also have other models for design thinking. So as you can see, we have here now 6 stages in this other model for design thinking. We have understand, empathize, define, ideate, prototype, test. So the difference between the first model and the second model is the addition of understand at the beginning of the model. Okay? And then we also have another model for the design thinking. We have empathize, define, ideate, prototype, test, and of course the addition to this model will be the implement. Okay? So what are the features of the design thinking? So some of its features would be it is active, of course, in nature. It is versatile, human-centeredness. It promotes human-centeredness. It has emphasis on rapid iteration, and it increases collaborative process among its design team members. Okay, next. Okay, sorry. Okay. So we have also the purposes of the design thinking. First, human-centered nature of idea generation. Okay, so this idea generation will be now solicited from your design team in participation with your end users, of course. Next, opportunity for judgment and reflection, improve human environment, and then preparing the young meet the complex global challenges. Okay, so let us now be the designers of this design thinking process. So as I have mentioned earlier, we're going to utilize in this discussion the Stanford design thinking process, which includes 5 steps. The first will be empathize, second is define, third is ideate, fourth is prototype, and of course, fifth and the last stage will be the test. Okay, let's go with empathize. For empathize, forget what you know or what you think. Okay, always have a beginner's mind with you. Okay, also, this empathize allow you to show your ability to put yourself in another's shoes. Okay? It could be done using interviews, shadowing, or seeking to understand, and of course, it should be non-judgmental. Okay? So, an example for this empathize stage will be the empathy map, wherein you're going to identify what are some quotes or defining words your user said or that is say. Okay, you're going to answer the question, why, what might your user be thinking? And also, what does this tell you about his or her beliefs? So that is for think. For do, you have what actions and behaviors did you notice? And of course, for feelings, what emotions might be your subject be feeling. So this is the first stage in the design thinking process. So we all know that empathy is the ability to emotionally understand what other people feel. Okay? So none of us can fully experience things the way someone else does. but we can attempt to get as close as possible. And of course, we do this by putting aside our own preconceived ideas and choosing to understand ideas, thoughts, and needs of others instead. So that is the first stage in the design thinking process. Next, we will be having the define stage or the step 2. So in this stage, we will be having a framing of a specific problem or opportunity. Okay? In this stage, we will be answering the HMW question or the how might we question. For the how, we think about solutions. For the might, we think about possibility. And of course, for the we think about collaboration. Okay? This is a stage in the design thinking process that allows the design team to craft a guiding statement that is, of course, built from empathetic insight from stage number 1, which is empathize, and of course, focuses on the needs of the users. Okay, the design stage or the define stage is a sense-making step. Okay, it allows the design team to bring clarity and focus to the rest of the steps that they will undertake. Okay, so that is for the define stage. Okay, okay. So in the, sorry. Okay, for the define stage, you have activities like storytelling, identification of your point of view, clustering, or even using frameworks. So in this defined stage, you will be identifying, of course, your end user, what are their needs and problems, and what are their insights. Okay? So that is the step 2 in the design thinking process, which is defined. Okay? The third step is ideate. So ideation is the process of forming and relating ideas. Okay? So in the ideate stage, your design team members will share ideas, okay? Considering that all ideas are worthy, divergent, and they are prioritized. Okay? Ideate is a verb wherein it forms a mental image of something that is not present or is not in the case. Okay. Ideation will help you, of course, ask the right questions and innovate, step beyond the obvious solutions, and therefore increase the innovation potential of your solution. Okay? Ideation also brings together perspectives and strengths of team members, uncover unexpected areas of innovation, and of course, create a volume and variety in your innovation options. The more variety and volume in the innovation options, the better. Okay? Get obvious solutions out of your heads and drive your team beyond them. Some of the ideation techniques that you may be use will be the brainwriting or the brainstorming, and of course the mind maps. These processes will help you in the ideation stage. Okay? So we have the third stage. The first is empathize, define, ideate, and this time we will go to prototype. Okay? So in prototype, there are mock-ups, there are storyboard, okay? And a reminder here that your prototype must be simple. Okay? Prototyping, okay, is prototyping is used to investigate the problem solution. Okay? It could be low fidelity prototyping or it could be high fidelity prototyping. Okay? For the low fidelity, it involves the use of basic models only or examples of products being tested. On the other hand, for the high fidelity prototyping, it will be engaging, but it is longer to produce because it looks and operate closer to the finished product. For example, in the high fidelity prototyping, we have 3D models and simulations. Okay? For the low fidelity, we have sketches, drafts, or storyboards. Okay? So this is the step in which three things are mainly taken off. First is we have the creation of experience. okay, getting feedback, and of course, iteration. Okay? Prototypes may be shared and tested within the team or the design team, in other groups, in other departments, or on any small group outside of the design team. Okay? So last, we have the fifth stage in the design thinking process, and that is the testing. Okay? So in testing, you're going to understand the impediments, okay? What innovation options works and what innovation options doesn't work, okay? And then in testing, you can also do role playing, and after that, you can do iteration afterwards. Okay? So prototype testing is the process of testing your prototype with real users to validate the design decisions. Okay? So Okay, so this step often goes hand in hand with the prototyping. So, but put prototype in front of real users and see how it fares. Okay, so testing enables you to test within a real context of the user's life. Okay, yan. So as I have mentioned earlier, we have 5 steps in the design thinking process. We have stage number 1, the empathize stage. We have the second, the define stage. The third is ideate. Prototype is the fourth, and last is the testing. Okay? So design thinking is a non-linear process. It means that you can go back to a specific step, whether it works or whether your output on that particular step doesn't work. Okay? So for example, you have to empathize. So empathize to help define the problem, right? And then after that, you're going to ideate to have your prototype, and of course testing. And if testing, for example, you encounter varied challenges or problem, you can go back to ideate and to look for other innovation options. So tests create new ideas for the project. Okay? So for example, you have a problem or difficulty encountered in prototyping, you can go back to ideate. Okay? So learn from prototypes to spark new ideas. You can do that. Okay? What if you have identified, okay, a problem which is not really the problem? Then you can go back to the define stage or the step 2, wherein upon testing, it revealed insights that needs redefining in the problem. Okay? And then, for example, you find difficulty on how the end users react, okay, on the prototype and during testing, then you can learn about users through testing, going back to empathize to what they do, they feel, they think, and they say. Okay? So this is the reason why the design thinking process is a non-linear in form. Okay? So what are the benefits of the design thinking? So of course, first, it is focus and research based, okay? Problem and project based, creative and innovative, artful, interdisciplinary, and real world. Excuse me. Okay. So there are several researches that are conducted about the design thinking, and here are some of the results. So design thinking are most likely draw uncertainty along the way, but leads to have positive effect on being creative and innovative. Also, programs which use design thinking, design mentoring, and co-creation to help companies develop innovation capacity result in tangible business benefits. Okay, so these are the benefits or the results of using the design thinking process. Okay, so another research revealed that design thinking and design education seem to suggest a significant opportunity for a new design-based education paradigm. Suggests that exposure to design education at primary school could lay a solid foundation that would not only benefit children who go on to become creative professionals, but would in fact benefit all children, and lead to their greater engagement at school and future success in their professional lives. Okay? In addition, an emerging K-12 pedagogy, design thinking means coming up with practical, creative solutions to current problems with the intent of an improved future result. Okay? So another research conducted about design thinking. So common to all the cases included in this issue, they have observed a degree of collaborative decision making that is human centered and shows empathy. Through it, multiple voices are acknowledged and heard. These cases demonstrate the beginning of a process of contextualization of design thinking in K 12 and teacher education in general. Okay? So ayan po, we hope that the issue, so if you have interest in this matter, then you can really take a screenshot of this and learn more about this design thinking for challenges and change in K to 12 and teacher education. Okay? So another research revealed that as teachers around the country, okay, are being expected to educate digital natives, the demand to be flexible, creative, innovative, empowering, and engaging is only going to increase. Design thinking can have a positive impact on the K 12 education, especially for teachers as they continually reflect upon and revise their teaching method, since design thinking is a nonlinear and a continuous process. Okay? Okay? Why is it important? It is important because it helps students to utilize design thinking like designers may better prepare them in dealing with challenging and complex situations in school, careers, and in life. By the way, design thinking is not just applicable in education but also in other forms of organization and in business models. Okay? So what are the possible aspects on where to apply design thinking in the education landscape? Of course, first is the educational policies and practices, okay, integration in the curriculum. And if there is an integration in curriculum, of course, there should be an integration on assessment, educational technologies, and of course, the daily life challenges of both the learners and the teachers. Okay, where can we apply design thinking in the context of education? So we can have this by having the maker spaces. So maker spaces is a workspace inside the school, a library, or a separate facility for making, learning, exploring, and sharing using technological tools. Okay? To define a school makerspace by its purpose and simplest of its term, it is simply a place where young people have an opportunity to explore their own interests, learn to use tools and materials, both physical and virtual, and of course, develop creative projects or innovations. So this design thinking involves project-based and problem-based learning. So let's start with the project-based learning. So project-based learning is a teaching method in which students learn by actively engaging in real-world and personally meaningful projects. Okay? Project-based learning engages students in the acquisition of knowledge and skills by working for an extended period of time to investigate and respond to an authentic, engaging, and complex question, problem, or challenge. So this is an example of the application of the design thinking in the classroom. As you can see, we have here the steps in the design thinking process in the first column. We have empathize, define, ideate, prototype, and test. So it has the integration of the project-based learning wherein you can see here that in the empathize stage, it is the entry event leads students to identify of become emotionally engaged by an authentic problem or issue. Okay? They consider who would benefit from the project or communicate directly with someone to understand their needs. Okay? Just like in the design thinking process in the define stage, integrating project-based learning that in this stage, problem is being identified. Okay? The project is framed by a driving question of challenge or problem statement. Okay? And then for the ideate, we also have here students build knowledge and skills and also have the generation of ideas. Okay? For the prototype, integration of project-based learning, students create rough drafts, model, drawings, plans, and develop answers to driving questions. So just like what we have mentioned earlier, prototype could be high fidelity or low fidelity prototyping. Okay, and of course, after these exercises or activities of your learners, students make their work public and get feedback by engaging in rounds of critique and revision. So that involves testing in the design thinking process. Okay, so let's try to have this comparison between the design thinking process and of course the inquiry based learning. So we have how many E's here? So one, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Integration of the 7 E's in learning to the design thinking process. So for empathize, you can have there the elicit and engage. For the define stage, you can have the explore, the exploration of possible solutions. For the ideate, you have to explain and elaborate. Okay, so there is no okay counterpart in the inquiry based learning for the prototyping, because in prototyping you're going to produce a product or an application, right? Whether it is high fidelity or low fidelity prototype. And then for the testing, in the 7 E's model, you will have to evaluate the application of concepts and extend to other applications. So these are the similarities and integration of the design thinking process in your classroom when you are about to use the project-based learning and the inquiry-based learning. Okay? So let's go with the problem-based learning. So it is an instructional approach where students learn by solving challenging and open-ended problems, more often the authentic task, okay, with just one right answer and are solved socially and contextually. In the problem-based learning, students work as self-directed, active investigators, and problem solvers in small collaborative groups. So for the example, for the first grader in grade 1, the design thinking and problem-based learning, for example, the title will be The Ultimate Animal. Okay? For the topic unit, you have external parts of different animals that help them meet their needs and survive in their specific environment. So in the empathize, students are asking questions, making observations, and gathering information on external animal parts. Excuse me. And then for the define, students use their observations to gain deeper understanding in order to find the animal's needs, okay, and develop their insights to come up with a problem statement. Remember that in the define stage, we have there the HMW question or the how might we question. These how might we questions focuses on the end users, their needs, and their insights. Okay, so in this example, we have what might be the design of the ultimate animal that can survive in every environment by finding food, water, air, and shelter. So the students now will go to the ideate stage wherein there will be a possible solution. There will be a lot of possible solutions. For example, the students use their findings to sketch out visual possible solutions to their problem statement. And what is the problem statement? This one. What might be the design of the of the ultimate animal that can survive in every environment by finding food, water, air, and shelter. Okay? So the teacher will provide constructive feedback. In response to that, students use the feedback for their new design. Okay? So after that, you will have now the prototyping for your students. So your students might opt to have physical mock-up using clay, okay? Or there are still continuous feedback to your learners, okay? And then of course, you have the detailing of the essential parts of the animals wherein this design or this animal that is being designed, okay, can survive in every environment by finding food, water, air, and shelter. So we're going back again to the problem statement. Okay? And of course, for the last stage, the testing, students show their animal and propose their solution to the teacher, the zookeeper, and explain their output. Okay? So this is just an application or example, a sample of the application of the design thinking and the problem-based learning in the first grade. Okay, so we are now down to our last example for this design thinking. So we have the gingerbread man. I will just read a little bit fast before we go through the next one. So a long, long time ago, an old woman and an old man lived a quiet life in a small cottage by the river. One day, the woman decided to make a gingerbread man for them to eat. She mixed flour, butter, and eggs in a bowl, and then she rolled out the dough carefully. She then cut out a lovely gingerbread man and gave him blueberries for his eyes and buttons and icing for his mouth and clothes. The woman put him in the oven to bake. Soon enough, he was ready and the woman opened the oven door. But to her surprise, the gingerbread man jumped out of it. "Don't eat me!" he shouted in terror and ran out of the window. The woman and the man started chasing after him. "Stop! Stop!" they shouted, but he was faster than they were. "Run! Run as fast as you can! You can't catch me! I'm the gingerbread man!" He laughed and kept running. As he was running, he came across a pig. The pig tried to take a bite out of him, but once again the gingerbread man was faster. "Run, run as fast as you can! You can't catch me! I'm the gingerbread man!" he said and carried on running. The pig joined the chase, and now the old woman, the old man, and the pig were running after him. But the gingerbread man was faster. Further along the path, he came across a cow. "Stop!" called the cow. "I want to eat you." But the gingerbread man started running again, and the cow couldn't catch him. "Run! Run as fast as you can! You can't catch me! I'm the gingerbread man," he said. It was not long before the gingerbread man came across a horse. "Stop, little man! I want to eat you," the horse said. But the gingerbread man outran him too. "Run! Run as fast as you can! You can't catch me! I'm the gingerbread man." The horse joined the old woman, the old man, the pig, but the gingerbread man only laughed at them. He kept laughing until he reached the river banks. "Oh no! Now they will get me and eat me. If I could only cross the river," he thought. Suddenly a fox snuck up to him. "Please don't eat me," cried the gingerbread man. "I won't eat you," the fox promised. "I just want to help you. Jump on my back and I will swim across the river and you will be safe." The gingerbread man had no other choice. He jumped on the fox's back and they crossed the river easily and safely. As soon as they stepped onto dry ground, the gingerbread man thanked the fox. But a second later, the fox opened his mouth and gobbled up the gingerbread man. Okay? So let us now use the story The Gingerbread Man in the design thinking process. Okay? So we have the steps again. Step 1 is empathize. Step 2 is define. Excuse me. The third is ideate. The fourth is prototype. And the last stage is test. Okay? For the empathize, does the gingerbread man need our help? So your learners now will be able to show what they feel, what they think, what they say, and what they do. Okay? In the define stage, you may have two how might we questions. How might we help him get away from the fox? That's the first one. And then the second is how might we help the gingerbread man cross the river? Okay? And then for the ideate, okay, so there are lots of volume and variety of innovation options here. So a boat will help the gingerbread man cross the river. Wings will help the gingerbread man get away from the fox. So there are two options. You have the boat, or you can have to devise a wing. Okay? For the prototype, you can have the boat and the wings, of course. So you're going to consider its size, how large, and what are the materials to use. Okay? And then for the testing, you're going to launch the boat or you're going to test the wings. Okay? So this now is the application of the design thinking in the classroom using the gingerbread man approach, using the inquiry-based learning, project-based learning, and of course, the problem-based learning. So I think that ends my presentation for the design thinking in the classroom. And I hope that I share a little knowledge about the design thinking in the classroom. And thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Sir Kevin Desi Lau from the Philippines. Thank you so much, sir, for the knowledge that you imparted to us and to our dear participants who are present for tonight's webinar session. Okay, Sir Kevin, can you please stay? Because after this quiz competition, we will still have our question and answer part where our participants will raise their questions regarding to the lecture that you have discussed a while ago. Okay, so thank you so much, Sir Kevin.
Okay,
At
sir.
this
Okay,
jun-
sir Rianjun. Thank you.
okay, sir. At this juncture, let us now proceed to the quiz competition for tonight's session, and we will start our quiz competition after this video. Okay, welcome back to our program. And again, we are encouraging our dear participants to join our quiz competition for tonight's session. The link for the quiz is posted on the comment section, and you may use the code to join. The code is posted on the screen. The code is all caps quiz IGP. So if you're watching in our Facebook page, The link for the quiz is posted on the comment section. You may also access the quiz competition by browsing www.slido.com. You can join directly even without downloading the Slido application or even without an account in the Slido. But for your convenience, it is better that you download the Slido app so that you can easily access future quiz competitions of IGP. IGP will give an e-certificate to each participant who belongs to the top 10 list. And again, you can access the IGP quiz by clicking the link in the comment section, then use the code that is posted on the screen. So while waiting for our participants to join the link, let me read to you some of the names who are already present or entered to our quiz competition link. Start from Maria Veneranda Z. Campos, Quindiniana January Cindy, Tashi Dema, Sam Choling HSS, Poncho Wangmo, Nina G. Generale, Carmela Bihaen, Kaifer Rivera, Lason Monyande, Tashi Dema, Jeneline Villar Resurrection. We have Kando Chomo, Dieter B. de Guzman, Dawa Laden, Alinor Joy Yeranon. We have also Angelica Anas, Jinky Z. Caballero. We also have Tashi Dema, Honito, Baile Compare, Ida Ramirez, Martinez. Okay, so for a while we will start our quiz competition. We also have Alan H. Brutas. We have Sir Joel Bernasor. We also have Ma Mary Ann Paladan. So at this, okay, I think there's a problem with quiz competition, and we are trying to fix it. Okay, so I think what you're seeing on the screen is the first question, and for the first question, 74% of our participants got the correct answer. Okay, for the leaderboard. Okay, for the next question, design thinking requires you to, okay, the first option, make safe choices or start with the end in mind. Okay, the correct answer is we start with the end in mind. And 58% of our participants got the correct answer. Next question, design thinking benefits students because, first option, it gives them a voice, or all of this sounds really good. What does it mean? There's only one choice. What happened with these two choices? What is design thinking? An architectural drawing concept, a real world problem solving strategy. Okay. The second option was the correct answer. And 89% of our participants got the correct answer. Next question. The critical thinking model found posted in the classroom is the Paul and Elder model or Arm and Hammer model. The correct answer is the first option, Paul and Elder model. Let us check the leaderboard. For the first spot, we have Queen Diniana, January, Cindy. Next question. In an experimental design, the independent variable is eliminated or manipulated. The correct answer is manipulated. Next question. How can you involve students in material design? Making flashcards or singing songs? The correct answer is the first option. Next question. One of the main ideas behind this design thinking is that design is really hard or we are all designers. And the correct answer is the second option. For the next question, how will we engage in critical thinking can be assessed using intellectual standard or reasoning? And the correct answer is intellectual standard. 48% of our dear participants get the correct answer. Okay, next question. The same teacher and group of students remain in one classroom for most of the day. And I think this is the last question for tonight's quiz competition. Let's check the correct answer. The correct answer is self contained classrooms. And 38% of our dear participants get the correct answer for question number 10. Okay, so let's have the top 10 winners. For the first spot, we have Kiangwi Isaiah, Getwi Kerry. In the second spot, we have Lasan Monyande, Evelyn Piwa Perry, Alan H. Brutas, Poncho Wangdi, Ashok Kumar Adhikari, Gemalyn V. Rivera, Leia Facunla, Joel Bernasor, and for the 10th place, we have Nika Zena Javier. So congratulations to our top 10 quiz competition winner. You can claim your e-certificate. It will be posted in our Facebook page. So all you have to do is you will just search for this webinar session, the title, or you will just go to our Facebook page and then search for the result of the quiz competition for tonight's session. Okay. So that was all about our quiz competition. Let us now proceed to the question and answer part of our webinar. So, to our dear quiz, to our dear participants, you may now type your questions in our comment section so that our technical committee or technical assistants can post it in our screen. Okay, and the question and answer part will start after this video. Okay, welcome back to our program. Welcome back to our dear speaker, Sir Kevin Lau. Good evening once again, sir. Okay, we are waiting for the questions of our dear participants to be
Good
addressed to
evening,
our
Sir Rian. Good evening.
again to our dear participants. We are encouraging you to raise your questions addressed to our speaker. Okay, let's start from the question of Sir Flomi Salviejo. Good evening, sir. What is common to inquiry and problem-based learning?
Hello, Sir Salviejo. I think the common in the inquiry and problem-based learning would be uh, the different stages in the design thinking process except for the prototyping, because as we know in our discussion earlier, we don't have prototyping in the inquiry, okay, in the inquiry based learning. But other than that, all of the other processes in the inquiry and problem based learning are all common, and they are all both learner centered and user centered.
Okay, thank you so much, Sir
Thank you, sir.
Calvin. Okay, another question from Sir Honito Baile Compare. Hi, sir. Design thinking is solely applicable in the classroom, or is design thinking solely applicable in the classroom?
The Yes, sir. Sir, compare, the answer will be no, because design thinking can be applicable in any organization. Just for example, you will be using the design thinking in your institution of learning, for example, not just in the classroom but in school in general. And aside from that, you can use also the design thinking in your business, okay? Because the design thinking process doesn't only rely on educational philosophies or concepts.
Okay, yes, sir. Let's wait for the next question. Okay, another question from Sir Poncho Wangdi. Will DT or design thinking approach only work with project based and inquiry based learning only?
The answer, sir, for that question is still no. Okay, so those are just examples of the application of the design thinking. But in simple terms, for example, you want to use that in your day-to-day lesson in your class, then you can use design thinking in any approaches that could work. Maybe you could have modification on its part, but you can use design thinking in any method for of learning.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. Another question: is design thinking applicable to lower grades such as grade 1 and 2?
Yes, Miss or Sir Facebook user, it is applicable to lower grades. In as early as kindergarten, you can apply the design thinking process, but make sure that the activities and the processes are uh, gender or no, age appropriate to them. So just like for our example earlier, the Gingerman bread is intended. Oh no, the example earlier regarding the animals is intended for grade 1 learners. So yes, ma'am, you can use that in lower grades.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. Okay, another question from Dulai Richel. In what ways can we maximize design thinking in a large classroom size, like about 50 learners in a class?
Okay. Sir, in what ways can we maximize the design thinking? Actually, the better or the more learners you have, the better because you will be able to generate more ideas. You can have sessions, and in your classroom you can have different groupings. It could be group of 5 to 10 learners, so that's an ideal number for design thinking.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. Let us wait for the other question from our dear participants. Okay, I think there's no more
Sir
question.
Rian, I have read yung question of Sir, what's this, Salviejo, earlier. Yung what are the limitations of the design thinking?
Yes, sir. Okay.
Can I answer that, sir?
Yes, sir. You can.
Okay. So for the question of Sir Flomi Salviejo of the what of that is what are the limitations of the design thinking? Actually, the limitation would only be concerning the time because as we all know, it has 5 steps and it will require you much of time, especially in the empathize stage. up to testing. So the time is the only limitation, because if you are wondering if you can have limitation on the prototyping, you can use the low fidelity prototyping. Just like for example, you can use modeling, you can use mock-ups or papers only. So the only limitation I think would be the time. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much for answering that question, sir. Okay. So I think that was the last question. So congratulations to our dear speaker, and thank you so much for answering all the questions of our dear participants. And also thank you to our dear participants who raised their questions, because we are also learning from the questions that you are being raised to our speaker for tonight. Okay, so once again, ladies and gentlemen, let's say thank you, and let's clap our hands to our speaker for tonight, Sir Kevin DC Lau. Thank you so much, Sir Kevin. Sir
Thank
Kevin.
you, Sir Rian, and to the Institute of Global Professionals and to our active participants. Thank you very much.
Okay, so let us wait for the final announcement, and the most awaited part of this webinar session is for this code. The code is all caps IGP 4956. You can now take a screenshot or take a photo of on the screen. And always remember that without this code, no one is eligible for certificates. With code, you can claim your certificates anytime. Another one is without an account on our website, you can visit, but you can't do anything functionally. So we are encouraging all the participants to please create an account in our website, so that you can explore more of our future webinars, and for you to easily enroll and download your e-certificate. Okay, so thank you so much for staying until the last part of our program. And I think that concludes our 844th webinar session. I hope that you have learned something. Thank you for watching, and see you next time. Stay happy and stay safe, everyone. Once again, from Aklan, Philippines, I am your host, Mr. Rianjun P. Calling, signing off.